Yo, JD here, Limitless, and as you can see, back on F1 2021 as always here today, and we arrive at round 10 of BRS at Spa, a track that is among the favourite of many drivers who play on the Formula 1 games and in real life as well. But for me, it's been a track that I've always had some very intense battles on, and this one here, you can see by the video length, I promise you I'm not doing this on purpose, but this race from start to finish was just a very intense experience. I felt like there wasn't a lap where I could actually relax whatsoever. And coming to this, I felt pretty well prepared, but there's a guy called A Mercy 1 who has joined this league, and I've raced with him online in open lobbies, and he is just absolutely rapid, as you're about to see now.
Fast one. I think Mers, see that, 41.9. Yeah, he's fast.
Yeah, he did a 41.9 in Q1, and
it's pretty crazy. He's that fast.
I felt that I could definitely see myself doing that, but that's a very strong time to do in Q1. He's actually on the controller as well, so for me that's very impressive. I don't think he races in any other leagues or anything at all. This might even be his debut in a league, and to do that is pretty damn impressive. And you know, as I said, this video, I just felt like there wasn't a lap where I could relax or just get my rhythm or anything at all. It was a very intense experience, helped by people such as A Mercy and others who were just absolutely rapid. I think people throughout the game, they just get quicker and quicker and just get closer to their potential. Whereas for myself, I feel I get up to speed quite quickly, but then other people catch up. And you can see here in Q2, it's a pretty similar story to what it was in Q1. I felt like I did a good lap because I'm trying to start the race on mediums, but then he just puts in a 43.1, which I've done a 42 before on mediums, so that wasn't quite as soul-destroying, but still beating me by 2 tenths. Now, only 4 people qualified in mediums into Q3. A bit of a statement to make, and he is definitely the fastest driver at the moment around here. But as we arrive into Q3, the track actually, well, the weather, sorry, it actually started to rain. So I decided to get out on track as soon as I possibly can. I can afford to take some risks because we do have a big lead in this championship by around 90 points, mainly because new people keep on leaving and old people keep on joining, keep switching all the time because this game is quite unstable online, so people just get fed up of it very easily. But no, we can afford to take some risks here. We decided to go out on the dries. DRS hasn't been disabled yet. We are not going to wait behind him because this could be the only opportunity where the dries could actually be working, and you want to be the first guy across the line in these conditions. So there's no way we were going to do the gentleman's agreement by waiting behind. We really had to get a move on there. So being a bit harsh, maybe a little bit, but no, you just have to do it in that scenario. And I think in real life, drivers probably would have done the same thing as well. So go through our route. Let's see what it's like going through here. Do a little bit of a lift, a big lift going through here. But it didn't feel too bad. And the Ferrari's in the wall. And that's actually A Mercy. So the guy who's in contention for pole has actually crashed out in these conditions. So that is the first sign of a mistake from him. But as you can see, almost losing it through there. That could have been an absolute car crash, but he managed to keep it on track here. We're deciding to complete this lap just in case it gets too wet and go across the line. What's it going to be? We do the quickest time of a 57.0. The next quickest is actually a second slower. However, in wet TT, the fastest time is like a 53, so in inters it should be going quicker than that. So we decided to go back out again because a few people have actually improved on intermediates, and the way we timed it, we didn't actually give ourselves enough time for more than one lap. So this is the only lap that we are going to do on intermediate. So a bit of poor timing from myself, underestimated a little bit, because this track is just, there's so much raw footage in this race because the lap is just so long. it just ekes it out so much. But I hope you enjoy it, and a lot of people say they like longer videos, so this is definitely going to be a long one, but promise you this is definitely worth it, because it was a very intense one, as I said here. But see, we are improving on our dry time, up by about 6 tenths, but I wasn't setting the world alight here, just being a little bit conservative, because really you need a minimum of 1 lap just to get used to the conditions, and then quite typically you improve a lot on your second lap. Sometimes I even improve by like a second or so, but you can see here this is not a great lap so far, because we are just finding our bearings in these conditions, as Kimi does a 53.0. He's timed that very well because he actually gets to do another lap as well, whereas this is the only lap we're going to do, and the track actually might be improving. We actually do a purple middle sector, so that was a little bit comforting. But I was looking at my delta, and I was pretty certain, unless we had an absolutely insane last corner, we're going to have to be 4 seconds up on our delta. We're only about 3 seconds up at this stage, so we have to gain a second in these last 2 corners, which we did decide, and we make quite a big mistake going through into there. And coming off the exit here, I knew this was not going to be enough for pole. Coming across the line, what's it going to be? It's going to be a 53.3. We could have lost 3 attempts with that little mistake here, but you will see at the end of this, we weren't really close enough anyway. And yeah, maybe we could have got P2. Probably could have got P2 without that mistake, but Kimi doing a very good lap to do a 52.6. So we're starting in 5th place, but we are the lead medium runner, which is important. A Mercy, I think, is starting in P8 or P9 or something like that, despite him crashing out, because I think someone else actually crashed out. But now we've got 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights here, trying to get a good start. Let's see what happens here. The ghost car actually goes. We do well not to react to that. It's so easy to just react to any side of movement you see, but you can see GPR has actually got a very good start to this race on the outside, so we actually lose a position back into 7th place because the ghost car has actually taken the lead. You can see how much of a lead that ghost car actually has here, but we're just going to slot in behind Millsy, and you're about to see a lot of raw footage, particularly in the first half of this race, because this is what I mean by you just can't breathe or anything at all, because these are the kind of situations I don't really like to be in, because I feel like I have more pace than the people up ahead of me, and I've got someone behind me on the softs who is pressuring me. You're kind of in a sandwich where it's very easy for everyone to just bump into each other. So this is kind of not the scenario I'd like to be in. A Mercy's actually going to put a move on the guy behind it, and he makes it stick as well, although he's just lost the position instantly again. So I feel he's probably going to be my biggest rival in this race. GPR's connection isn't looking too good, as we actually have our first virtual safety car. All it took was 3/4 of a lap before that actually happened. So we're just going to skip. Didn't last particularly long. It's actually going to just only come into our sector. No real pressure from behind, so a nice safe restart. And you can see it's going 3 wide into there, and that's really just not what you want when you're behind cars that are going 3 wide, because all it takes is one of them to lose control, be planted in front of you, and you have nowhere to go and you lose a wing. That's what happens quite often when you do open lobbies or when this kind of scenario is happening. So the leaders are getting away. I'm having these guys up ahead fighting tooth and nail, and now I have Luciano, who's another rapid driver, and A Mercy behind me. Yeah, this is a sandwich. This is just a sandwich you just don't want to be in, where you're faster than the cars ahead, you got cars behind that could be even faster than you, and something's just going to happen. There's always going to be an incident in this kind of scenario. So I was thinking about maybe going to the inside of Millsy here, but that would have been a bit of a risk, trying to slot my nose down this inside. But the soft tyres are still in relatively good condition at this stage, and you can see the ghost car is miles in the lead here. You can see it actually sets a fast up, and then MAS Placky responds to that. You can see he was doing a 45 47. We're doing a 47.9. So that's how much time we're losing. We're just losing so much time behind these two guys who are battling. So this is a scenario you just really don't want to be in. And this virtual safety car went on for a very, very long time. It's went on for almost a full lap. Seems to get triggered by just anything, really. Even if someone retires in the pits, it just happens. But the safety car is now ending now. 2 tenths behind. Delta kind of resets in a really weird way. You have to be as close as possible to 0 before it says safety car ending. Otherwise, it's just going to add on an extra second to your Delta. That's why sometimes you lose a lot of time under the virtual safety car. But now I have a new problem. I have this guy behind me called Mers, who's another very fast driver. Believe it or not, he's on a controller and he uses automatic gears, which is not me taking the mick. That's me actually being very impressed, actually, because automatic gears and he's this fast is quite bizarre. Like, if you try it out, I've tried it out myself, and here I'm quite clueless to see how he's actually this fast with automatic gears. But he's a very, very aggressive driver, very fast in the race. I think he struggles with qualifying quite a lot, but he's a very, very aggressive attacking driver. And again, this is a scenario that I don't want, where I'm desperately trying to get past the cars ahead because they are costing me time to the leaders. But then I've got a very enthusiastic, aggressive driver on faster tyres behind me. This is forcing me having to be attacking. So I'm going to try and get past Millsy here, but I don't want to lose my wing or anything at all. So arguably, looking back on this, I think I was a little bit conservative here. But I know Millsy is actually quite an aggressive driver himself. So that's why sometimes you have to judge the driver who you're driving against. Going through into here, he gets a very, very good run on us. And we
fucking hell, man.
almost lose the car there. That could have been our race completely over. And that's what I mean by Mers. He is just a very, very aggressive driver, a very enthusiastic driver. He just wants to battle at all costs, which is very annoying for me because I'm kind of the opposite. I only battle, well, I feel like I only battle when I actually need to. I always try and think a little bit more long term rather than the short term. But I think in this situation, I actually need to be a bit more aggressive on Millsy, actually looking back at this footage here. So I've decided that I really need to get a move on now, because if the longer I stay behind him, the more chances there's going to be an instant between myself and Mers. He's actually going for another overtake again. So he's actually going to try and go down the inside, going to turn one. We have to leave him room on the inside, but we actually get a better exit by being earlier on the throttle, taking a bit of a better line. And the Aston Martin is actually not using any overtakes. So he's actually backing me up into his teammate. So we're in an Aston Martin sandwich now. So we really have to get past him. We're definitely going to get past him, but is Mers going to get past us as well? We were running quite low downforce. I decided not to defend here because this is a very awkward corner to overtake on. You have to make it completely stick side by side. Otherwise, it's so easy due to this contact model to be spun out. So we live to fight another day, up it into P5 now, and this is where we can actually start to settle down and get into a bit more of a rhythm of this race. You can see at 47 is our fastest lap. Going across the line now, we've done pretty much 8 tenths quicker. As soon as we got in clear air, we just gained that time back. But unfortunately for us, Dizzy, or GPR, I'm just going to say, actually had the DRS from the ghost car up ahead, who's not even in this race. So that was a little bit frustrating, but I don't think we were going to be close enough anyway to mount an overtake. So we actually get DRS and a slipstream, so that's going to protect us from Mers quite nicely. So next lap, we're going to try and get a little bit closer now. Doing a little bit better of a tail 1 here, but I don't think we're going to be close enough again. And you can see the lead is about 3 seconds away from us on the soft, so we're going to try and reduce that gap as much as we can, because we are going to be going on the soft tyres, and they should get a little undercut when they actually pit for the mediums. But again, we're not going to be close enough to GPR, but that's fine. You can see his red light is actually flashing now, so I knew next lap I'm not going to have to be pushing that hard at all. But you can see the difference in speed now. We definitely have a lot more speed in him once again, and this is, you can see, one of those situations where you just want to get past as soon as you can. And if you just pay attention to that delta up ahead, you'll see how much time we actually lose when you're stuck behind another car. So this just gives you an insight of how important it actually is sometimes to really get a move done. Because looking back on this again, I think I probably should have used most of my overtake to get that done into sector 1. Otherwise, because then I could have put another car between myself, Mers, and then Mercy, and I actually get my first invalidation, which was a very, very clumsy invalidation, one that really was not necessary. And you can see we've got a lot more straight line speed than him. He is suffering on the battery, so we decided to go around the outside and just take an unnecessary risk there. We could have lost everything, and now we've decided to make it 3 wide. So a bit poor decision making from myself here. Really should have got the job done much easier than that. Just inviting an incident to take place. So you can see how much time we've actually lost by this faffing around. Really, you can see the gap has gone up to 3 seconds again, when it was almost 2 seconds at the start of this lap. So now we are being a bit more decisive with our overtake. Going up through into here should be an easy pass because he doesn't have any battery power. We know he's quite low on the battery power. I don't think he's going to be using anything. And now it's just a case of hopefully he stays ahead of these guys and we can actually put a bit of distance between us. So the gap is now 2.5 seconds between myself and Placky, 2.9 to Kimi. Let's see what it is coming towards the end of this lap. And you can see we have actually really, really good pace now. Once we go into clear air, we've actually closed that gap now. That's actually triggered them to go into a fairly early pit stop as well. I probably would have got on maybe a little bit longer. And you can see we do our own fastest lap of the race here. I'm trying to get out the DRS zone of the Alpine behind, because A Mercy, I think, is definitely still my biggest threat in this race. We have someone like Maris as well, who isn't actually that far behind. He started on the fresh mediums. He's a very, very fast driver as well here. And Mers has actually stayed out with them. So I'm going to try and get out of the DRS zone here. Put a bit of distance between myself and them. But I think Mers has actually gone past. A Mercy has actually made the move on him as well. So that's not what I wanted. I wanted him to stay behind. But you're about to see now of how fast this guy actually is. And I believe he was running a little bit more downforce than me. But he's a really, really fast driver. So on the next lap, we managed to increase our pace even more and actually extend the gap. But then he started to close in. See, it's a 1.1 seconds, so I felt I was pretty safe going through it here because the detection point is after turn 1, just halfway before we go up the hills. Because the gap is 1.1, but he's actually using his ERS now. If you look at the top left-hand side of the screen, the delta, you can see how much time he's gained. And now it's gone from 1.1 to 8 tenths on the exit here. And there's no way I'm actually going to be able to pull away because he's probably using the overtake now. And he's got back within the DRS zone. So I was feeling like I was driving pretty well, and he managed to get back within the DRS. So he was really, really fast. You can see he's only 4 tenths behind me now. We don't have Morris is that far, but he's actually closing in slightly as well here. Noah actually returns to the league, but unfortunately he had to start at the back of the grid due to an incident in Q1. You can see Mers on the undercut has done the fastest lap of the race on fresh medium, so they're definitely going to get a bit of an undercut. I decided to let A Mercy go here because we just don't really want to be wasting, we don't want to be losing any time by batting or anything at all. And I wanted to kind of recoup a little bit of my ERS as well here. So coming into the end of lap 12, all I'm doing here is just follow him as much as I can. But you can see we're struggling a little bit to stay quite close to him. So that does show to me that he has some really, really good pace. You can see Morris is actually caught up. I think GPR has actually pitted, so he's going for an undercut on the softs here. So I want to try and get the undercut on A Mercy as well, because if I let him get an undercut on me, I don't think I'm actually going to have enough pace to close it in again quicker enough, especially since I'm quite lowish on the ERS. Under 50% I consider quite low. That's not enough ERS to go for an overcut. Maybe if I had 90%, I would give it absolutely everything on the outlap, but it's just really not worth it. So we're actually going to box this lap. I had a feeling that he wasn't as well, because normally he pit like maybe 14, 15. So this is a bit earlier than what I actually wanted to do here. But I think this was the right decision to try and get an undercut and get out of the DRS zone. So we box for softs. About 6 laps to go. Should be in pretty good condition by the end of this race. Morris actually pits. Placky actually sets the fastest up. So the people on the mediums, they were about 2.4, 2.5 seconds. So let's see what the gap is. You can see they have already gone past. Mers has overtaken us, but this is actually perfect for us because we are able to get the DRS on him and not really use that much of the ERS. So I'm going to use a little bit here just to make sure I get past him, just in case he decides to put up a fight, because he is a bit of a fighter. Mers doesn't like giving up positions, not one bit. We can see the gap is about 3.4 seconds. Be able to see at the end of this lap how much we've actually closed in. We've closed a big amount of time, about 1.5 seconds in. So I've been pushing quite hard. You can see by ERS we've been pushing very hard. A double purple in the final 2 sectors. Let's see how much of an undercut we actually get on a Mercy. And as you come out of turn 1, we do get an undercut, but it's not a huge one at all here. Not a huge one. And the problem you can probably see that we're about to run into is we're going to get into traffic. We're going to get the DRS on these guys, but the problem is Kimi has DRS on Placky, and there's just no way to overtake until really the first sector or last sector is the real overtaking points. This middle sector, there's nothing you can do, and it's pretty much certain that A Mercy is actually going to close in throughout this middle sector. So the benefit of the undercut hasn't really played out that well, unfortunately. If we could have overtaken both of these in the first sector, then that would have been absolutely perfect, but it hasn't worked out in this case. And as I said in a video recently, or actually I think it'll be a video later this week, you'll see it, a 1 lap fresher tyres is actually quite significant around this track, because since the track is so long, you put quite a lot of mileage on just doing that 1 extra lap here. So going through it here, we make another poor decision. I was just thinking about saving my ERS for the end for a fight with a Mercy, but I should have just blasted it here, made sure I got past Kimi, put a car between myself and a Mercy, and then get Placky on the straight. That's what I should have done. So I'm just being a bit too conservative here. Needed to be a bit more aggressive with my decision making. So coming out here again, I put myself in a scenario which I don't need, where we're going 3 wide into turn 1. That was just unnecessary, and that was really caused by myself. We should have just made sure that we just got completely past them, and we missed out on the DRS of Placky by 1,000th of a second as well. So
didn't get it, 1,000th.
Yeah, that was very, very frustrating. But again, no, in the moment I was just thinking about trying to save all my ERS for the end, because I knew Mercy was going to be faster than me. I was just planning to overtake him on the last lap and just use all the ERS I had possible, because I knew I was faster in a straight line and that he was just faster in the corners. So that was my strategy, but we managed to get through there relatively unscathed. Now it's just about overtaking Placky, and we're just going to wait for this first DRS straight in the first sector. But if we could have broken out of the DRS zone and Mercy was still overtaking them, then this could have made this race so much easier. And you can see how fast he is. He's actually pushing me along, still within 2/10 coming off this corner. So he is absolutely rapid. He really is very, very fast. One of the fastest drivers I've come against recently playing F1 2021 here. So we're coming up behind Placky. We're not going to make an overtake going into this final corner. Let's see what we do here. So we're just going to take our time. I don't think Mercy's going to do anything silly coming through into here. I don't think he's going to do what Mers did, trying to make it 3 wide. See, improving on our fastest up by 0.6. Once we get a little bit of clean air here, I don't think Placky is going to make it too difficult coming off the exit of this corner here. So coming up through here, we're still going to use a little bit of the ERS just to make sure, well, maybe we might use a little bit of ERS just to make sure we get the job done, but Mercy isn't that particularly close, so we actually aren't going to be using any of the ERS here. Going back to the racing line, and I think Mercy is actually going to be doing the same thing as well. So now it is game on. Now I have to decide what I do for the rest of this race, and my strategy was to let him go for the last lap, let him take the lead in the last lap, and I get him on this straight on lap 22. So right here now, I'm not bothered if he actually overtakes me because I want to recoup a little bit of my ERS, so I'm just going to let him go here. And then the next lap, my plan was to re-overtake him again. Then he gets me back on lap 21, and then I get him back on lap 22. So that was how much I was actually thinking in advance. But something you didn't see is that I'm actually on 2 warnings as well. So if I get one more, it's going to be a 3-second time penalty, and then that would really be race over at that point here. But you can see how fast he is. We're going to use a bit of the ERS just to make sure we get close. I didn't want to let him more than 7 tenths away from me at all times. So you can see we're tucking in nice and close again. He actually sets the fastest lap of the races, so really showing how fast he actually is. But I wanted to keep the pressure on, so I'm being quite aggressive here. We're going to launch an overtake going down the straight. As I said, overtake him here, and then he gets me back on the next lap, then vice versa, and then I let him go for the last lap. So we're going to do it here, not using any of the ERS because we want to save it again. He goes a bit defensive, so we go for a move here. We feel this is absolutely done. But he tries to hold it round the outside, coming through to what happens here, and there's contact, and he actually spins round. And at that point, I thought that might actually be my fault. But we did look after the race, and it was determined as a racing incident, even by himself as well. So I felt a bit guilty in that moment, but that's actually let Morris. And a safety car has come out because of that with 3 laps to go. So Morris is right back in it, and the Mercy is in 4th, so he's not even that far behind as well here. So on the safety car restart, we actually get a very good launch. We can see we've actually caught them napping quite a bit here, but I was very cautious that I didn't want to get a 3rd time invalidation, otherwise I'd be getting that warning here. So coming off here, I felt it was going to be a fairly easy run to the last lap, because all I have to do, because DRS isn't going to be enabled for the rest of this race because it takes 3 laps after a safety car. So coming up through here, we didn't actually use any of the overtake. I decided to use it on the top of the hill because I always thought this was best, but Morris actually gets a very good run. He's actually rapid in a straight line as well. So now we're going to go side by side down the end of the straight here. Who blinks first? We blink a little bit later than him. Thankfully, he didn't try and do what a Mercy did and try and hold it round for the inside there. And we live to fight another day. So an easy run, I thought, isn't actually going to be that easy in the end here. So we've still got quite a lot of ERS to play with. He's going to have one more opportunity. But the good thing we have in our favour is we're almost getting a validation. That was so close. He's launching another attack again. We still have to defend for our lives here. Doing the same thing again. Just outbreaking him. Making sure that he does not have any space to try and go around the outside here. And Mercy has actually joined the fight as well here. So we're using a bit of our overtake, which we could afford to use. And I was hoping he actually used a lot of his battery power in that attack there. So we're going to try and learn from what happened on the previous lap by using some ERS on the exit of turn 1. Build that momentum up. Don't let him get any momentum going into that corner here. So come up here, using the rest of our ERS. This time, as we go into turn 1, you'll see what we do this time. So trying to get a really good exit of this corner, doing that very nicely. Now we use our overtake, so we're not going to let him within 4 tenths of a second coming up this hill now, although he's got a little bit of slipstream. Coming up here, we're going to get the ERS very early, and this time he is not going to be close enough to launch an attack because we are quite fast in a straight line as well. And you can actually see we're actually putting away in a straight line here. So now it's just about keep it nice and neat and tidy going through into this round and make sure we don't get any track of violation. But as we look behind here, there's a little bit of an incident behind here, and him and Amurti have actually come together. Not quite sure how that has happened, but now I can breathe. Because this race, although it might not look that intense, sometimes these are the most intense races where you just never ever have a breather. So we come across the line to take a win at Spa from 5th place on the grid. A much harder win than it looked. And yeah, thank God that is over. But GG to Mercy, GG Team Baris and everyone there. Thank you for the huge support on the channel. I won't be streaming next weekend because I am away, as I am actually commentating on this video now. So I'll be streaming in a fortnight's time, so 2 weeks time again, so no streams next weekend. But again, thank you very much for support on the channel. Thank you for everyone who has become a YouTube member. It really does mean the world, and I will be catching you very, very soon. Peace.